Welcome back to radforlife.com, the home of the RAD SEL lessons. This is lesson 7, Avoiding Roadblocks. In lesson 6, we learned that roadblocks are the uncomfortable thoughts and feelings that can stop us from doing RAD moves that align with our values. Sometimes roadblocks cause us to act in a way that is not in line with our values, to do not RAD moves. Now, if you're starting to get a little road rage over all these roadblocks, don't worry, this might help. Roadblocks are only a problem if they lead to not RAD moves, when they leave us stuck. If we have uncomfortable thoughts and feelings about something, but we're still able to make RAD moves and do what is important to us, then that's okay. We may have uncomfortable feelings and thoughts, but we're still making positive choices to do the things that matter to us. However, when our roadblocks leave us stuck, not doing RAD moves and instead making not RAD moves, then we'll want to do something. So if roadblocks are problematic, what can we do about them? Often, people respond to their roadblocks using the most obvious and simplest solution, just stopping the uncomfortable thoughts and feelings from happening in the first place. In other words, avoid them. Just don't have them at all, or tell them to go away. Is that even possible? If you remember in lesson 3, I challenged you to not think about axolotls. Do you remember how that went? Most people weren't successful, and if they were, they put a lot of effort into distracting themselves and they missed out on some pretty sweet RAD content. Our minds are busy places with thoughts coming and going all day long. It's the same with our feelings. Different feelings come and go throughout the day. Trying to stop them or control them doesn't really work well. It usually takes a lot of effort without much success. When we try to avoid uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, in other words, when we try to avoid roadblocks, it usually doesn't work. Instead of moving forward, we end up stuck. And when we're stuck, we're not making RAD moves. In fact, we often end up making not RAD moves, choices that aren't in line with our values. Overall, trying to avoid roadblocks isn't a good strategy. After all, if it's hard to control your thoughts and feelings about something as simple as an axolotl, imagine how much harder it is to control them when it comes to really important parts of life, like your relationships or the difficult events life throws your way. So, if avoiding roadblocks is problematic, why do we try to do it? Well, remember, roadblocks are uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, and avoiding uncomfortable things makes sense. After all, they can be really unpleasant. However, usually our thoughts and feelings aren't dangerous, just uncomfortable. Also, we don't actually want our thoughts and feelings to disappear, even when they're uncomfortable. They help us solve problems, tell us when things are important, and they help keep us safe. Our busy minds help us solve problems, and our feelings add meaning and excitement to life. Uncomfortable thoughts and feelings are just as important as comfortable ones in this process. They're an important part of who we are, not something we can just turn off or control. That's why avoiding roadblocks only leaves us stuck. When we put a lot of effort into fighting thoughts and feelings we can't really control, we end up using our energy on this struggle instead of using it to do RAD moves that line up with our values. Of course, this means that we are going to experience uncomfortable feelings and thoughts, so how we respond to them is really important. If we can't avoid, control, or shut down our uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, what can we do? In RAD, the answer is simple: accept them. Accepting means noticing and acknowledging our thoughts and feelings without trying to fight, change, or deny them. It's the opposite of resisting or avoiding. Now, I said earlier that accepting our uncomfortable feelings and thoughts is simple. What I mean is the idea is simple, but doing this isn't easy. In fact, often avoiding our uncomfortable thoughts and feelings is the easier approach. But in the long run, avoiding leaves us stuck, not doing RAD moves, when what we really want is to be doing the things that matter most. Now, if you are avoiding your roadblocks, don't feel bad. It makes sense that we try to avoid them. Uncomfortable thoughts and feelings can be really hard to experience, so it's natural to want to push them away. But here's the problem. The more energy we spend avoiding, the more stuck we usually get. Acceptance is what helps us move forward, even when the roadblocks are still there. Let's look at 2 quick examples. A student has a big test coming up. Their roadblocks are thoughts like, "I'll fail," and feelings of nervousness. Their value is working hard and doing their best. If they accept their roadblocks and write the test, they're following their values. If they let the roadblocks take over and skip the test, they're stuck, moving away from their values. How about this example? A student values creativity and wants to join a drama club at school. Their roadblocks are thoughts like, no one will talk to me and others might make fun of me. And they feel nervous and embarrassed. If they accept their roadblocks and join the club, they're following their values. If they avoid the club, they're stuck, not living out their values. So remember, roadblocks happen to everyone, but they don't have to stop you. You have the power to choose how you respond. By accepting your roadblocks, you free yourself to keep moving toward your values and making rad moves that matter. Next lesson, we'll dive into some strategies to help you do this even better. Until next time, be rad.